All right, stay with us. We're turning now to more developments that we're tracking this hour. China is pushing back strongly against new U.S. sanctions and trade measures, urging Washington to resolve differences through equal dialogue and warning it will defend its legitimate rights and interests. Beijing says it firmly opposes secondary tariffs over Russian oil purchases and is demanding the U.S. act prudently in both words and actions. This comes after President Donald Trump had issued fresh warnings on Russia in regards to secondary sanctions. Trump had warned NATO allies that he is ready to impose major sanctions on Russia, but only if Europe stops buying Russian oil, and agreed to slap massive tariffs on China. William Yang, analyst at International Crisis Group, is joining us live from Taipei on this story. William, thank you for being with us today on NewsX World.
Thank you for having me.
Let me begin by asking you about these strong words that China has used. In fact, they are coming down tough on the U.S. for its threats.
Right, because I think Beijing finds the decision from Washington to put more than a dozen Chinese companies onto the export controls list as a unwelcome move right before both sides are supposed to enter into the latest round of trade negotiation. And as we all know, export control has been a pressing point between both sides, and China has been eagerly pushing the United States to make more concessions on that front. So the fact that the Trump administration went ahead with the decision of adding more Chinese companies onto the export controls list is a negative signal for Beijing. And so they take it very seriously, and they hope that there will be a way to voice their concerns going into the negotiation, and hopefully both sides might be able to resolve that. But as we see as of right now, I think the priority for this round of the trade talk is going to be trying to reach a consensus on the issue of the status of TikTok. And the more deeper structural trade issues are likely going to remain there and will only be able to be resolved or touched on in the next round of the trade talk, probably.
It also seems, William, that China is unwilling to change its stand over purchasing Russian oil despite this pressure.
Right, exactly. I think for the Chinese, they view it as a very important decision and also a fact to make sure that Russia does not succumb to more international economic pressure and international sanctions. And so it is very important for the Chinese to do whatever they can within the bounds of not providing direct military support for Russia to make sure that Russia survives and remains a sovereign country and remains strong enough to continue as a strong ally on Beijing's side. So, and I think the Chinese are also calculating that the U.S. will find it very difficult to actually get all its allies, including all the NATO countries, on board to actually impose collective sanctions on the Chinese and the Indians for purchasing the Russian oil. So I think at this point, the Chinese is more betting on the fact that the U.S. will fall short on its attempt to try to rally its allies on its side. And at the same time, the Chinese wants to make sure that Russia remains strong enough to go into whatever potential negotiation or peace talks revolving the fate of Ukraine going forward.
Okay, let's leave it at that. William, thank you for joining us with your perspective on that story. Nepal's interim government has seen a major expansion on Monday with the induction of 3 new ministers into the cabinet. Kulman Ghising, Om Prakash Aryal and Rameshwar Khanal were sworn in as ministers at Sital Nivas, which is the presidential palace in Kathmandu. Kulman Ghising has been given charge of the Ministry of Energy, Urban Development and Physical Infrastructure. Om Prakash Aryal will now head the Ministry of Law and Home Affairs, while Rameshwar Khanal has taken over as the Minister for Finance. The move comes after 2 days when Sushila Karki was appointed to head the interim government following the ouster of former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli after protests led by the country's youth against the ban on social media platforms and corruption in the government.